is February 7th, 2022. I'll give you guys a few moments to get in here. I have two pieces of news. This is kind of a late afternoon news break or brief that I'm doing here. But I'm doing it on a casual setting, as I tend to do on Black Spring Mobile. So thank you so much for coming in. If you're considering coming in, I really appreciate it. And I will be happy to tell you what this one is about. The last stream that we did, we did get into some NIH findings. And this particular stream will be in the same vein. We'll deal with someone that you are, somebody that's pretty notoriously known from the NIH. And then I also have something on GoFundMe as well. All right, so we'll start here. So I'm going to deal with two topics here. One is regarding, we're going to deal with two topics here. One is regarding funding. Now we've kind of talked about subject of funding before, but this is concerning Fauci, and this comes from lifenews.com. And the second one will come from the Western Journal. So that's going to be dealing with the GoFundMe. I think you guys have heard some of the blowback or some of the results of the convoys out of the Ottawa or the Canadian convoys. And it looks like, I think, is it Ron DeSantis looks like he is going to be, I'm not sure if he's leading the charge, but he is going to be investigating GoFundMe. I don't know. To me, this is no different than when I think about the GoFundMes and the BLM kind of under third parties involved in that. To me, that's kind of the same in the same vein. The DNC or the blue. I can't think of whatever the name of that whatever that backing was. If you were supporting BLM, where that actually took you. But I think it's probably gonna be some of the same things that are coming out. But what's gonna be done about it? I don't know what investigations are doing for you guys at this point. Interviews, investigations at this point. I mean, what fruit are they yielding, or what justice is it actually yielding? I mean, bringing things to the light, you know, yeah, I mean, but that's what Facebook and social media is for, right? Mean girls exposing people, shaming them, or playing recordings of them on stage when they're walking by in their crown and wave and their glory and all. That's mean girls culture. But I think the investigation and interviews kind of culture at this point is very weak, and it just does not, there is no smoking. It's like there's no such thing as a smoking gun or a bombshell, for the lack of a better word, that blows any of this out of the water. None of it. So without further blather, I'll go on to this particular one. And this is coming out of lifenews.com. Apparently, Anthony Fauci is funding 80% of all the research using body parts from aborted babies. Now, this came out on the 4th. So fairly recent, but no less, I think still relevant. When it comes to what our government is funding with taxpayer dollars, we've talked about the UN agenda before, and I think part of that was that they wanted to, I'm not even sure if it was a part of the Green Deal, the Green New Deal, whether they wanted to, I know the UN agenda, I know they wanted to expand the availability of abortions. They wanted to make it a global availability. So it's like we've got this abortion industrial complex along with the mocktail industrial complex. We've got So many complexes to deal with. So I'll stop talking and I'll go ahead and get into this. So, according to this, when it comes to the grisly use of aborted baby parts for dubious scientific research in America, a new report shows embattled NIH director Anthony Fauci is behind most of the funding. Okay, according to this, the National Institute of Health, NIH, which Fauci directs, is behind $27 million in taxpayer funding for research involving tissue or body parts from babies killed in abortion, or approximately 80% of the funding for all such research in the United States. Now, here's the thing. Somebody brought something, I tend to listen to a lot of people, or I subscribe to people because I think everybody has something to contribute. However, somebody brought something to my attention, and I've never thought about this before, which why would I think about it? I mean, if it's not something that I'm familiar with, but Angela, I can't, gosh, Angela Stanton King, she brought up a point probably 3 years ago, 3 years ago, about how people that actually go to these clinics for abortions, Planned Parenthood, you never hear of any type of arrangements that occur there. You never hear of any type of funerals or any type of, I mean, do they even ask these women how they want these remains to be disposed of? You never hear that. And I thought that was, was pretty staggering. You never hear about that. You don't hear about that. Now, I mean, I'm not familiar with Planned Parenthood and their facilities, but according to her, Angela Stanton King, I don't want to misquote her, but she's very passionate about this. I mean, she's got her own experience, her own experience with abortions and the clinics, but she even talked about how they are strategically, which I'm saying, they're basically strategically placed in in the black communities, in pretty readily available. I mean, I would put them up there, I guess. But the way she was describing them, kind of like liquor stores or check cashing places, that they are so that they're in full, the availability is everywhere. But the point is, I digress. She talked about how there's no you don't hear people talking about, well, how did you have your fetus or your child disposed of, or what does that look like? I mean, you don't hear about that. So I digress. I'll keep going. So Fox News has more. The White Coat Waste Project, WCW, which opposes animal experimentation, looked through the NIH data to uncover the scope of funding, which includes support for things like transporting fetal lungs, liver, and thymus into mice. The majority of the reported funding, 79.8%, comes from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID, which is run by White House Chief Medical Advisor, Dr. You guessed it, Anthony Fauci. Overall, the NIH expects to spend $88 million on this type of research in the fiscal year 22. One study involved humanizing mice through, quote, reconstruction with human fetal liver, 17 to 22 weeks of gestational age, end quote. So far, that project has received funding through multiple NIAID grants, including one with more than $20 million between 2014 and 2018. Another study funded by the National Eye Institute entailed studying fetal eye cells. The study says that the eye cells were obtained from Advanced Biosciences Resources, which has come under fire for its connections to Planned Parenthood. Fetal lungs were also incorporated as part of a federally funded research with the University of Wyoming and the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. The NIH and the Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, did not respond to Fox News's request for comment. So here you get data. Looks like this has been under brew for a while. So I'm going to keep going here. Hi, everybody. Hi, Mars CT. No worries. So I'm going to keep going here. According to Christy McPherson, the development manager of WCW, said in a statement to Fox, quote, a majority of Republican and Democrat taxpayers don't want to be forced to pay university white coats tens of millions of dollars each year to implant fingers, scalps, eyes, and other parts from aborted human fetuses into monkeys and mice for nightmarish experiments. Recently, the University of Pittsburgh continued to defend its gruesome experiments involving implanting aborted baby scalps onto rodents and other research with aborted baby body parts. This is absolutely horrendous. I mean, I'm reading this in its entirety before you guys right now. But when I started it, it was hard to continue. But this is what our taxpayer money is going to. Let me keep going. And as hard as it is, okay? This is from lifenews.com. Not lifenews.com has uncovered a lot. There's plenty of people online that have actually testified to this market, to this dark market. This is a dark market, a black market, hard heart, if you ask me. So I'm gonna keep going here. So citing an investigation this week that found its research is fully, quote, compliant, end quote, with state and federal laws. Compliant. The university commissioned the outside investigation last year after Judicial Watch and the Center for Medical Progress exposed evidence of babies potentially being born alive in abortions and other disturbing practices at the university. The evidence came from documents they obtained from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services through a Freedom of Information Act request. Repeatedly, the university has denied all allegation of wrongdoing. Now it's citing the findings of the new investigation to back up its unethical research practices. One horrific experiment at the university involved scalping second trimester aborted babies and then implanting their scalps onto rodents to study the human immune system. University of Pittsburgh researchers published the results of the study in 2020 in the Journal of, quote, Scientific Reports, end quote, as well as photos that show tufts of baby's hair growing on the rodents. I'm telling you, I was a little bit skeptical about reading this stuff, but I'm telling you, does anybody actually think that they would be blessed in any way with this kind of stuff going on? I don't care what your background is or what you think it is. Do you really think this is, do you think this is a healthy practice? I mean, okay, I'm gonna keep going here. This is from lifenews.com. Okay. This is what the government's funding, okay? And if they think for a second, if you don't for a second you don't think that anything else went on with the mocktails and the heebie-jeebies being cooked up, they'll cook up anything. So let me just keep going here, especially if there's money involved. The demand, if they can create an industry. See, this is that thing about science. Science sounds pretty sick, right? It's pretty sick, right? Who's science? Is it science? Or is it, Batwing, Eye of Newt, darkness? It's almost, to me, this is like black magic to me or something. This Eye of Newt. There's nothing, you're not advancing anything with this. I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to try to keep going. I'm going to try not to stop again. There's not a ton of left here, but there's enough. Okay, so according to this, Fauci's National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases sent millions of tax dollars to the University of Pittsburgh to conduct grisly experiments with body parts from aborted babies, some of whom potentially may have been born alive, a panel of pro-life and political leaders said Tuesday. In the study, the scientists used the scalps from aborted babies between 18 and 20 weeks of pregnancy to create, quote, humanized, end quote, mice and rats to study the human immune system. The researchers described it as, quote, full thickness human skin, end quote, along with their article. The researchers published photos of their experiment, horrific images. I mean, I think I kind of got that much in here. So the Center of Medical Progress and several doctors, including one who supports abortion, also pointed to statements from the university officials that suggest some aborted babies' hearts still may have been beating when their organs were harvested for scientific research. Last week, David Daleiden, the founder of Center for Medical Progress, expressed doubt about the independence of the university's investigation in an interview with The Fix. Quote, tellingly, the University of Pittsburgh thinks that hiring a law firm somehow counts as, quote, an independent review of their barbaric experiments with aborted baby parts, end quote. Daleiden said, quote, anyone who wants a real investigation should look at the documents. The document requests nearly 100 congressional representatives made concerning Pitt's experiments on aborted babies, end quote. In a House Appropriations hearing in May, Fauci asked about the NIAID's funding of Pitt's experiments, grafting scalps from 18 to 20-week aborted fetuses onto rats, and if the agency is aware of where the fetuses come from. Fauci replied that the study went through, quote, all the appropriate guidelines and oversight, end quote. Daleiden skewered Fauci's response as, quote, outrageous, saying intact scalps used, which can be seen in pictures included in the study, are only obtainable at the size shown through a partial birth abortion. Quote, intact heads would not be obtainable through, quote, dismemberment abortion, where the skull is going to be crushed, Daleiden explained. This is very gruesome. State and federal lawmakers, pro-life organizations, and others have been calling for an investigation of the university for months, ever since the Center for Medical Progress and Judicial Watch released their FOIA documents. Almost to the end. In August, a University of Pittsburgh spokesperson called the allegations, quote, irresponsible and false in a statement to Fox News. He said the university and its partners comply with all laws, and the university itself does not perform abortions. But the university has been using Americans' tax dollars to become a, quote, tissue hub, end quote, for aborted baby body parts for scientific research for years. According to the documents obtained by Judicial Watch and the Center for Medical Progress, the university requested $3.2 million over a 5-year period in 2015, and it has received at least $2.7 million so far. The Center for Medical Progress said the university documents and statements confirm that some aborted babies' hearts still are beating with their kidneys are harvested for scientific research. I think there's a misprint there. The documents also show that the university program has racial quotas for aborted baby body parts. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that's probably one of the most difficult things I have ever read on this channel. And part of me wants to apologize because I would have issued some form of disclaimer and said, look, this is not pretty what I'm going to share with you. But apparently it has been shared 1.9 thousand times and more through other outlets. But I just don't see how mankind thinks that they can continue like this. I don't see it. I don't see it. But I mean, I don't know. That's like, to me, that's one of the worst things. It's got to be the worst thing I've ever read. These findings. And see, the thing about people, their vitriol and their ignorance is so runs so deep that they actually give a damn about what source it came from. They're not outraged over the atrocities, the crime against humanity, the butchering, the debauchery. They're upset about which one of these alphabet soup names or on front of it, or cited under it. They have no problem. I know of a case. I know of a case in which somebody I know of an incestual case where someone who was mentally impaired was involved, and that occurred. But you cannot tell me, you cannot convince me that what they cite, what they hold up to say that this is justified is that particular case that I'm describing to you hits both extremes. It hit incest, and it also hit mentally impaired. A mentally impaired person was involved in that situation. What's going on right now is not that. It's far from that. But for what's happened to these kids, these lost souls. But they're not lost. They're not. The people that are doing these things, they're lost. They're dark. But it's very sad that generations of people have been destroyed like this, and they're doing it under the auspices of medical freedom and reproductive rights, and what is it, the last most outrageous thing I heard, transportation justice, reproductive justice, transportation justice. You guys remember, I remember growing up, send a mouse to college. What was that all about? I don't even want to know. For every kid that pinned $1 on them and got that sticker, for giving $1 and got the sticker in return, who knows? I feel bad for the vermin that are involved in these experiments. Not even they were put here for that kind of torture. Let me have a cleanser here, a palate cleanser, just for a second. Let me just have a mental break here. I know you guys remember the campaign. There was a campaign back in the day, which I think they said that, send a mouse to college. There was they had bumper stickers, they had, buttons, pins, and I think that was on the American Cancer Society. Well, if you guys didn't notice, look at the rates of cancer right now. For last time I checked, they're pretty similar to the way they were in the 70s, right? I remember reading a book on it. So let me just go and see who's here. Hi, Marcy T. No worries, Marcy T. You're always good either way. Okay, so let me go in here. Jermaine G was in first. Thank you so much, Jermaine G. I appreciate it. Jermaine G says they are using those babies to see how they can advance. Probably. Hi, Tyrants Make Freedom's March. Derek C. Williams says the most dangerous place for a black person is in the womb. Without a doubt. Marcy T says because PPH sells the quote product end quote of the tissue to the highest buyer. Let's see. Derek C. Williams says humanized mice. Can you say the island of Dr. Moreau? Ugh. Let's see. Absolutely. Frankenstein. I think, I don't know, it's just aside from, I don't care what you believe. It's not your creation. You have no rights to be doing any of that. You have no rights. And then they always put a moral choice or a moral something on the front. Oh, it's Planned Parenthood. Planned and Parenthood. That sounds pretty damn responsible, right? Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood. But then they start throwing their hands in the air. Oh, we do more than that. Well, but what's your money maker? Your industry is not handing out packs of ortho tricycline. Now I'm going back. I'm going back in the day right now, seriously. It's not orthotricycline that's not your moneymaker. It's not. Lifestyles, Trojan, that is not your moneymaker. It is not. You're not kicking back anything off of that. You're not. But you are mutilating the most innocent. That's what you're doing. And I'm just wondering if the people, this is what would be even more. I don't even know if I want to know. If the people that went through with this process, if they knew what happened to their fetus and its remains, would they think about it? Would that cause them to be more? Would they have more conviction? I mean, and I'm just wondering because there's a lot of things that go on. I'm sure there's not. I don't even know what the age limit is because now I think that you can actually. I think in California, you can actually go to a nurse and have that procedure and be a school. You can have that procedure done without even a parent knowing about it. But I bet it's the saddest thing, and I don't know if you had a child that came in there and had something like that done, if they asked out of curiosity to see those remains, what do they say? What do they say to that 12-year-old, the 13-year-old, the 14-year-old, the 15-year-old? What do they say? Do they say, I want to see those remains? What, and for those, I mean, are parents escorting these kids in there? I mean, I mean, I think that's pretty much, that's what I call that's an epidemic, or we're turning that into a pandemic. That's what we're doing. So yeah, again, I'll say, and I'll walk away from this one. That's the most difficult article that I've had to read. That's from lifenews.com. And when I see this guy on TV, I mean, these people have a God complex. They have to. They have to. I mean, I can't put it any other way. So I'm going to move on here. I'm going to try to get you guys in and out under 40, 45, under 45. But this is just a tidbit here. That was just published like I think Friday, I think. So it's not that far. It's not that far down the chute. Okay. So the next liner I have comes from the Western Journal, and this kind of speaks to some of the convoys and the things that we've been seeing in the news out of Ottawa, Canada. Ron DeSantis confirms investigation of GoFundMe underway. Multiple other states join the fight. Okay, so here again, in these times, are we really, what do investigations yield? That, I mean, we just talked about somebody the Dr. Rand Paul, Rand Paul, that nothing, no digs or no jabs at this guy has stuck. You know, nothing. There's enough bombshells, smoking guns. There's enough, right? They just gloss over it. Yeah, he did this, he did that. We have evidence that you did this, and that. Okay, well, I object. I object. I resent what you just said. And it just turns into this pretentious, exchange that goes nowhere. Okay, so I'm going to keep going here because otherwise you know. Okay, according to this, Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is being joined by multiple Republican attorneys general to put the crowdsourcing platform GoFundMe under a microscope after GoFundMe decided to sever its connection with Canada's Freedom Convoy. GoFundMe claimed Friday that the protest aimed at Canada's mocktail mandates was becoming violent, and therefore the Freedom Convoy would not see a penny of the 9 million, I think it was Canadian dollars, the 9 million Canadian dollars donated, but yet distributed to the group. In its initial announcement, GoFundMe's wording indicated to many readers that the money could instead be used by any group it chose. Whoa, what a surprise. You know, after an outcry, GoFundMe issued a statement saying it would simply refund money to all donors, okay? So according to this came out on the 5th. The update, this is from GoFundMe. This is a westernjournal.com. The update we issued earlier enabled all donors to get a refund and outlined a plan to distribute remaining funds to verified charities selected by Freedom Convoy organizers. However, due to donor feedback, we are simplifying the process and automatically refunding donations. Okay, so somebody else, this guy is Chris Marks. I'm not familiar with him. He says, I think part of your problem was that you didn't make it clear that the charities would be chosen by the organizers. You just said, quote, approved charities, which could have meant anything. You need to be specific in your wording. Cutting the financial legs out from under the protesters did not set well with DeSantis and others, including Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry, West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrisey, and Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost. Quote, it is a fraud for at GoFundMe to commandeer $9 million in donations sent to support truckers and give it to causes of their own choosing. I will work with AG Ashley Moody to investigate these deceptive practices. These donors should be given a refund, end quote, DeSantis tweeted. And let's see, it is a fraud at GoFundMe to commandeer $9 million in, so we've already got that one. So you see that. So you have other people have come out about and said things about this, but I personally, I don't know, I don't really deal with GoFundMe. I've never hosted anything. I've never created a fund, never hosted a fund. But yeah, but you know, no one could stop the use of, you know, these other groups of using it, or when they were raising money for BLM and all these things here in the States, but I think BLM was more of a global, it was global. Even if it, you know, it got most of its steam here, it was still a global, they tried to make that a global, you know, organization, or its effects. You know, the propaganda was certainly global. Okay. But what I'm saying is this is no different than, you know, going behind the scenes and seeing who actually, you know, BLM was, who was collecting the money for them. This is no different. So according to this, quote, all the GOP attorneys should be looking into this and helping to get people their money back so it can be redirected to the truckers, end quote, he tweeted. Don't let at GoFundMe scam you. Call your AGs and let them know. GFM seems to have no problem funding BLM riots. Peaceful truckers should be fine too. Well, it's going to be far from fine is what I'm going to say. And I don't know. I guess people better come up with, you got to come up with your own everything these days. You cannot, it's just, I don't know what to say anymore. I don't, crowdfunding, they're showing you their power is what they're doing. They're flexing, letting you know, we run this. You guys want to make a statement, it will be shut down because we have the power to do it. The corporations are in. Subsidiaries, I think, of corporations are in. it's they are going to preserve, they're going to preserve, you know, tyranny and their control. And the fact that nothing was done about BLM, there's not much going to be done. They might investigate it, but they won't be able to if they've already, because I've heard of them shutting off funds, uh, campaigns before. You know, I've heard of them doing it before, but I'm not sure where they are on the convoys. Um, but yeah, but that's really all I have for you guys today. I decided to not do, I mean, I'm kind of out of the studio, so to speak. So, and I didn't want to do it like this. So I just decided I'd just come to you from the westernjournal.com and lifenews.com. I just want to say hello once again to everybody that's in the stream. Let's see. Melinda Ann Burns, Marcy T, yeah, it's, you know, that was really disturbing. It was more, it was just so much more than that. It was so, Alex Bleeping Jones, how are you? So yeah, there's a lot of news out there, guys. And I just don't think we're looking like, you know, when we look at ourselves, you know, can we really say, this does not represent me, okay? These behaviors do not represent me. These abortions, this Frankenstein stuff that they're doing. And that's not the only thing this sick tool has done. That's not the only sick stuff. You know, he's going to go down in history with Joseph Goebbels and you know, the Frankenmeister is what he's going to go down as, the American Frankenmeister. You know, he's even making Sanger look a little bit less, not much. And I'm I'm dry. I'm exaggerating, but he wouldn't be the only one. You know, the people that sign the checks, that do the bureaucracy, they're just as bad. And you know, but to me, it's history repeating itself. And that, you know, you notice that last thing in that article, they talked about the quotas. Basically, these people are getting the types of, that's why they got to keep, there is a demand apparently for for specific races. The documents also show the university program has racial quotas. So this is the University of Pittsburgh. And I think there was one other. But you know, you got people shipping their kids off to these colleges, and that's being done right under you're paying tuition and tax money, and your kids, and these atrocities and horrendous things are going on. Something out of a sick movie is going on. So, and I've always, Judicial Watch, I've always had a lot of respect for them, but I mean, the guy, I think the top guy, I can't think of his name right now. But I just didn't see, I remember when they said he was going to be appointed to Washington. I just don't, there's nothing that comes out of these. They do a lot of great investigations. They uncover, they expose a lot. But what does that do? You can't bring these babies back. You can't say, you can't. The damage is already done. You know, we did the last thing I did, which I'm surprised it's still up, was they finally admitted that the mocktail it's created a small change in menstrual cycles. A small change. We had an NIH.gov report on that. Yeah. So who knows? Who knows? I think they're maybe they are. Shout out to Jermaine G. Maybe they are cooking up something else. It's going to be even. What is it? Gates has already talked about the next demic will get more attention. I've played that clip for you guys. Him sitting next to his whatever. Um, so I'm just saying, like, we just how do we protect ourselves from all of this? How? I don't know. I'll take any advice from you guys. Marcy T says they are with Jesus. Amen. Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying. When I say lost, I don't think that they're lost. The people that are, I don't know what a fallen angel is exactly, but I think these people are definitely, they got nothing. When I say nothing, I mean there's nothing. I'm talking like soulless. Uh, yeah, like just they've got nothing. But I am going to wrap up and say thank you guys once again for coming in. Derek C. Williams, thank you so much. Freedom's March, Marcy T, of course. Um, um, let's see, Jermaine G, Melinda Ann Burns. Melinda Ann Burns says these politicians are so full of word salads filled with slugs, but nothing is ever done. There is no justice. Right on, my sister, right on. Marcia T says, see the ones screaming the loudest are the biggest ones. They're calling us. Right, Marcy T. She says, no one is safe around here. As truer words have never been spoken, Marcy T. Yeah, like, I don't know how that guy sleeps at night. I really don't. Or how does that occasional lab coat that he puts on, how does that stay on? You're putting it on slime. How does that stay on? And why do people keep hailing this guy? It's like, why don't you guys read something? Like, I'm going to tell you something. I'm a borderline about to go on a rant right now. Really borderline. I am so sick of all of these functional illiterates. And they're creating another set of functional illiterates. I tell you, the next set of illiterates won't even be functional. I don't know what you're going to call them. But they don't like to read. They don't like anything that goes away from what they've been told. And they are in la la land. But I'm telling you, this next gen, I'm sorry to say, the kids will be included in this next generation of functional illiterates. It will be cake. When I say that, you've got states that are actively saying racial quotas, all the detriment and decadence goes to the blacks. Now I'm saying the majority of it. You got states on the West Coast that say, oh, you don't have to prove that you can read or write or do mathematics because that's racist. They make you more stupid. You're going to be so stupid, you won't even be a functional illiterate anymore. You won't. And they will have done it. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. When I think about Washington State, California, yeah, these are socially engineering states. And they're creating the new wave of illiterates. So I don't know. It's like they want to keep people so far away from reality that they're not even curious about reality. They're not. Like I said, try not to go on a rant here, but I'm saying people better start teaching their own damn kids. That's what I'm saying. And when I'm saying teaching, I don't care you figure out what that means for you. Whether that means you read a book to them, or have them read the recipe that you're making for the weekend. I don't know. have them to read you the directions when you put the slip and slide together or whatever it is you do in the summertime. You better figure out how to educate your kid. Or shout out to Derek C. Williams. You better figure out how to debrief what you sent them to for 8 hours a day. You better figure it out. Because you better believe they're not going to send you anything. They're not going to send you anything to spot check where they are. By the time you find out where they are, it's too late. We talked about furries the other night. Kids are hissing at people when you say something they don't like. Oh, well, that's communicative, right? Kids aren't even be able to have. We've already got an issue with the cell phones and that kind of a bit. People already are less social, or less. Their social intelligence is already down. Their nonverbal skills are going to be even more reduced when you got people barking and meow and dressing up in cat ears and tails and crawling around on floors and just putting litter boxes in restrooms. And it's not just, and they're going to deny it when it comes out. They're going to deny it, and they've already sick the garland on parents for CRT. So what does that mean? So I guess that means that they're not going to know how to use the restroom anymore. And why are these parents participating in this? I'm telling you, all day long I can go at these educators. I happen to be an educator myself. But I tell you what, these parents are not off the hook. If you're dressing your kid up like cats for a scene in Cats or Peter and the Wolf every day, there's something wrong with you. You need to go sit yourself down on somebody's couch and figure out what's going on up top with you. Because it's Halloween. It's not Halloween, right? You're not doing a play every day. But these progressives and these liberals are in these schools, and they are predators. They're telling everybody they can be everything from A to Z. You don't even have to be human anymore. You can crawl around on the floor with your pasted on cattails and your little cat ears and bark at people and bite people. Even the kids were biting each other when they didn't like something. Who can stay in a classroom with that? What is she wearing? If the kids are dressed like that, what is the teacher wearing? I'm just saying. I'm not Columbo. You don't have to be Columbo. But if the kids have, I'm not a psychiatrist. Is it disassociation? They've disassociated themselves with humanity. Now they're barking and biting and crawling around on the floor and not even communicating. And people, stop blaming it. Look, I don't even know. It's too dangerous. I mean, I don't want to say, dare I say, if you go to are you supposed to look at somebody with purple hair and say, hey, I don't want my kid in that class? I'm now nothing. I'm starting to see more kids with purple hair, with these gelatin light hair colors. People, this is a movement. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to get off. I'm getting on to a rant. But I'm saying, seriously, some of these people are just too out to lunch. Just way too much. Way too much. But I want to say thanks once again. Thank you guys for entertaining me. Entertaining the dark stories. Yeah, like the dark stories. The investigations, That's why I'm saying everything is the same. It's a loop all the time. We're always investigating or exposing something. That's what we've turned into. That's what we do. All we do is investigate, do interviews, and nothing happens. I'm not proud about that. But I'm gonna tell you, I just don't. I at this point, it's like, okay, like some people. Oh, you gotta see this video. You guys, I'm like, oh god, I gotta go through this again. I okay, I see the video, and it's pretty incredible. But what does it do to move the injustice, to remove it, to put it away? I mean, they say that the criminals are in jail, right? Does it seem that way? Does it seem like the real criminals, the criminals are in jail, right? But all this stuff is still going on. You know, like we perform investigations and exposés on YouTube and the social media every day, and it's free of taxpayer dollars. Well, I can't. Maybe I shouldn't say that. People spend their hard-earned money to support these channels. This is not the paywall channel. I told you that. Um, Even though it's not the paywall channel, it's still, you get free investigations, free exposés. I don't have a criminal justice degree. I don't have a law degree. I don't. But nothing that I would ever expose on YT or any of these would ever bring anybody. It would never be a smoking gun. It seems like once upon a time there was maybe a year or two ago, maybe 2, 3 years ago, that a YouTuber broke a story before anybody. I think before it made mainstream. I think a YouTuber broke that particular story. Probably did it all under the funding of Patreon and merch. Probably it could have been a small YouTuber. Could have been. But you don't have to hire. But look, what I'm saying, you get all this free expose and investigations. You don't have to hire a lawyer. You don't have to hire forensics, accountants, attorneys. You don't have to hire any of that on YouTube. But the criminals just keep walking free, right? The real criminals just keep walking free. So on that note, I'm coming off the rant and off of this. Melinda Ann Burns says, Freedom Watch does investigation exposure, but there's no prosecution. There's no true justice. No one gets punished. Melinda Ann Burns says, educated idiots. Marcy T says, it's horrible to be human. They prefer to behave like brute beast. So yeah, it's hard. I'm just in these times. I know I keep saying I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna be off definitely under 60 minutes. In these times, it's hard to not get a little bit jaded or a little bit, not bitter, but just a little bit jaded about the things that are going on. Because nothing has done. We're now distraction is the Winter Olympics. I could care less. I could care less. Even though as gross as Pelosi is, I could care less about the Olympics. Why are you there? Why is anybody participating in that? Should have been canceled, right? Are we going to pretend like we have no idea? We know nothing about the heebie-jeebies? Is that what we're doing? I can't go along with it, guys. I can't. But I'm not going to be sharing anything about skaters eating crap going down a blade of ice, a razor of ice. I'm not. And like I said, they give you a little bit of hope or whatever to kind of ease the tension with investigations. GoFundMe. Pretty soon, I wouldn't be. We're getting dangerously close to all of these things, kind of, just being, falling apart. We are. But until next time, you guys have a great rest of your Monday, and thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, Marcy T, Melinda Ann Burns, Derek C. Williams, Freedom's March. Melinda Ann Burns said send them to college and they eat the books, lots of fiber, and they are still full of it. Let me see what else am I missing here. DJ Vision Barnett came in. It's nice to see you. Thank you so much. And that's going to be it. Alex Bleeping Jones was here. And I don't even get into that situation about the guy at that mayor out of New York. It's yeah. I'm not going to even get into that. I'll leave that up to. It's just, I guess, pointing out hypocrisy. I guess I'm just kind of jaded on that at times. I am. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your Monday.